Aaron, if I could get you up on the stage. And it's great because about a week ago, I was doing an interview with him over on the computer, and here we are in real life.
Hey.
So Aaron.
You too, man.
Good to see you, man. There you go.
Thanks, everyone. I'm mic'd up, so yeah. G'day, everyone. First time in the Gold Coast for me. Glad to be here. Went down to the beach this morning for breakfast. Lovely. Really enjoying it. And it's only a few hours away from New Zealand, so this is kind of a weird short trip for me compared to what I'm normally doing, but lovely to come across to Australia and be with you all today. I'm going to talk a little bit today about Futureverse and the Root Network, and really what we're doing to bring users and utility into the XRPL and XRP ecosystem. Before we get started with the detail, I'll do a little bit of an intro to who Futureverse is for those of you who don't know. So the statement here is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and I think it's important to set the scene a little bit before we get into some detail about how we're building our technology and how it integrates with XRPL and the XRP community, because a lot of people in this community are very focused on financial technology and payments technology, which is great. It's really important. It's really awesome, but the kind of metaverse and content and media tech space is kind of newer to the XRP community. I'm going to try and set the scene for why it's important that these two things go hand in hand. This is the slide I used at the Morgan Stanley China Summit up in Hong Kong last year when I gave a keynote. And you probably have thought this if you've been out there in the public space. All the rage is AI now. What is this metaverse thing? No one cares about it anymore. And you'd be wrong. The metaverse is just the internet growing up, and I'll explain what that means a little bit more. But it's a $5 trillion opportunity. About $120 billion has been invested in it. And I think importantly for this audience, 79% of consumers who go into an immersive metaverse experience make payments inside of there. They purchase things. And so this is just as important as any other commerce on the internet. In fact, it is going to be the experience layer for every kind of commerce on the internet. So what is it? What's the metaverse? Well, I think the first thing to explain is what it's not. You live in it. You exist in the metaverse today. People have this kind of fanciful idea that there are digital economies and the economy. there is a digital society and society. And that's just rubbish. If you took the digital out of the economy would cease to exist. If you took digital out of society, society as we know it today would collapse. And so the idea that there's this other thing over here that is coming at some stage that you're going to have to get ready for is wrong. You live in it today. In fact, every one of you in this room, the next generation, the generation of that, we can see already spend about 44 years of their life looking at a screen. If you're not in the metaverse, if that doesn't encourage you to think about the world in a different way, then I don't know what else could. So the metaverse is society, commerce, banking, payments. It's all this hybrid experience that exists in digital technology space and in the so-called real world. They are the same thing. But what does that mean in a little bit more detail? This is a term that is used by Tencent, the company behind WeChat, one of the largest financial and payments businesses in the world. And they consider themselves to be an immersive convergence business. And what does that mean? Well, what it means is that in the olden days, we used to go to do specific things in specific places. So before the internet, you go to the bank to do banking, you'd go to a store to buy some goods, you'd go to the theater to watch a movie. So things like media and communications and commerce and banking and finance and gaming were all very separate things. In fact, when I started my career in technology 20 years ago in telecommunications, they were so separate that telecommunications companies and media companies had their own networks, distinct networks, their own internets almost. And so they were very far apart. And what has happened as the internet has evolved is those things have become closer together. And the user experience for consuming those things has become more converged. And a really simple way to think about that is telecommunications and media or advertising came together in one thing, one user experience called social media. So social media took what was the elements of communication, the communications ecosystem and the elements of the media ecosystem and push those things together into an immersive customer experience. And it decimated both of those other industries. And the same thing has continued to happen as the internet's evolved. If you've spent any time in Southeast Asia, you'll know that the fastest growing way to buy things is social commerce. Inside of TikTok, it's selling more things and growing faster than any other platform on the planet. That's an immersive shopping experience inside of social media. And so as these things come together more and more, we'll start to see all of the other things that have happened in those separate silos become more immersive and more connected and more converged. It's a really, really fundamental idea for what the metaverse actually is. It's also about data, not games. So the idea of, in most people's heads, when they hear that term, they jump to something like Roblox or Fortnite. But actually what the metaverse is about making data available to lots of applications at the same time so that they can provide this persistent type of customer experience for the user, no matter which application they're in. So if I go into application B, it knows who I am. I can carry my data in there. I can carry my social graph, the people I love. I can take the things I value in there. I can take content that I love inside of there. And you can do that application after application after application without silos being in the way. That's what the metaverse is. And to make that happen, it's all about the data layer. All the things that sit on top of that, the fun things people go and do, that's the interoperable experiences. But having mentioned Roblox and Fortnite, I think it's really important to understand that as the internet has evolved over time, the way that people want to experience the internet is influenced by what they grow up with. And so, a bunch of people in this room I can see probably grew up with no internet maybe, or just the very early days of it. There'll be another group of you who were in the days of shitty websites and precursors to social media and forums and chat rooms and stuff like that. there'd be people who came in the age of social media, and then people who came in the age of mobile. And each time we've kind of set these new platforms and new experiences that we went through, they tend to become the default way that the internet evolves and the experience that the internet evolves. I can see probably a bunch of you are parents. I'm a parent. I have two kids, Michael, 22, and a 2-year-old daughter. So a bit of gap there, and I get to see how they are interacting with technology on both ends of the spectrum as they've been growing up. You tell me that kids who've grown up in the last 5 to 7 years won't want an immersive internet experience. That's all they've known. They've been inside of virtual worlds, and that they've built their social groups inside of those things. They've created businesses inside of those things. They've created content inside of those things, and that's the way they will want to experience the internet. So what's really important, and as if this is going to be the way the internet has been experienced, is that user-owned content and identity becomes an internet protocol too. So just the same way that TCP/IP has evolved as a way to transfer information across the internet, we need those same things to be true for the content layer and the identity layer to make this open metaverse idea work. And that's really the hub of what Futureverse has been working on, is how can we make user-owned content and identity an internet protocol? How can you have any application see the same set of data and render that for users in an experience that is native to what that application is trying to do? How can we make you the center of the internet again, not big corporations? So to do that, we've got 3 things. 1, make the technology invisible. And that's kind of a silly thing to say to a Web3 crowd, because we love talking about protocols and how these different things work and why they're different to the other stuff that's out there. But everyday consumers don't care. Your mum doesn't care which cloud Netflix runs on. They care about the shows they watch on top of it. No one cares how email works, what protocols are being used underneath it. They just know they can send information from one person to another and rely that it'll get there. And so every great technology that gets mass adoption feels like magic to the users. And so that's the first thing in our strategy, is obscure the technology. Not that no one has to know about it. It's just not everyone has to know about it. And we don't have to shove it in everyone's faces, and transform the conversation from what's cool about the protocol to what's cool and magic that you can now do that you couldn't do before. And every great product has done that. 2, demonstrate the open metaverse in action. Show how user-owned identity and content as an internet protocol can work. Bring experiences to life that demonstrate to people the power of that idea. Because our thesis is, once you go open, you won't go back. That experience of openness is the bit of magic, and that's the thing that Web3 technology can enable that no other infrastructure can. And then the last is onboard people through play to learn. And so when we go out there and we're building these applications and they look like fun gamified experiences, that's very intentional, because what we want people to do is come in and have something fun. And as they are in there and as they start playing with this stuff, teach them about the principles of Web3, teach them about the principles of decentralized governance, of asset ownership, of information ownership. But don't shove it in their face to start off with, because that will never cross the barrier. Web3 has done a woeful job of bringing people in to use Web3 applications, even amongst people who trade crypto. So 300 to 400 million people in the world have owned and trade crypto, about 5% of the world's population. Less than 5% of those people who are risk tolerant, adventurous, a little bit kind of on the fringe of culture and society perhaps, are not going that next step because it's super hard. And so if we can make it a little bit easier, it'll make a big difference to the number of people who engage with these ecosystems. So under the hood, we've got some things, lots of things actually. You saw a lot of them in that opening video, but they boil down to 4 things. Protocols for ownership. So This is about how do we make your identity ownable, your content ownable, your social graph ownable, the data about you ownable. The next bit of technology is about interoperability. So how can we provide tools to people to build interoperable content that lives in the data layer so any application can access it and build a customer experience on top of it? How can we activate that stuff with artificial intelligence? It's a very strong area of our business. We've been doing it for more than 5 years now. We have over 30 patents filed and granted in this area alone. We have one of the largest generative AI research teams in Australasia. It's a really important part of how the internet's going to evolve in the future. And then we have the root network, which we like to say is more than just a blockchain, because it's not just the network itself, but it's how that network's integrated to these other things to bring about that experience for the user. So I'll introduce a few of the bits and the really important bits so that you can get a handle on what's under the hood. So FuturePass is a digital identity system, and it's your passport to the open metaverse. And just like a passport, it's got 3 bits in it. The first bit is, the profile page with your not so good looking mug, well, at least on mine. And it has the personal information there, where you're from and what you've done, where you were born, that kind of stuff. And every passport reading system in the world can read that same data the same way, no matter where you go. The second thing you have in your passport is a visa entry page. So there needs to be a way for, applications to permit you to go inside of it. So that deals with that permissions protocol, deals with it. Gives the ability for developers to say, I want this kind of user, I want this kind of content, and they're allowed to come in and use my application. And the last part is, just like a visa, we give a way for people to monetize that. And so that the content that's created by party A can be monetized by party B, just like a visa stamp could be monetized by charging a visa entry fee. And for the first time today, so a little preview there for those in the XRP and XRPL community. We know you love the Zaman wallet, and teams have been working hard to do native integration. So FuturePass isn't a wallet. It's wallet agnostic. We don't want to kind of compete with people who are doing the important job of securing people's private keys. And so we offer an onboarding journey that allows you to sign in with your own wallet, the thing you already love and trust. So shortly we'll be launching native integration for that into FuturePass. You can create a FuturePass with your Zaman, and you can sign transactions for applications and experiences on the root network using that. The next little thing under our hood that I wanted to show you is Doc. So those who've been following us on Twitter have seen a little bit of Doc over the last wee while. Doc is our 3D generative tool. It's a novel foundational model that our scientists have built themselves. And what it allows is for people to take what's in their imagination and bring that content to life as 3D, game-ready characters, objects, environments, all the things you need to create and build worlds with. This is Grumble, which is actually Kyle's product from my team. You want to go and talk to him. And inside Grumble, you can see a whole bunch of objects that have been generated by Doc. But we thought for today, since we're here with the XRPL community, we'd highlight the Zertmon team's cool little characters. And on the left-hand side here, you can see the original card. A little bit of magic to bring out the character in the middle there, and the first step of our AI process to turn that 2D character into a 3D object that can be ingested by our AI. And then out the other side of that process, Doc generates this cute little thing. So that's no code. Anyone could take a picture, write a prompt, and produce a character that can go inside of games and applications and experiences. By the way, the music in this cool little clip of this cute little dancing dude was generated by our own foundational AI-generated AI music model as well, Gen. And so Gen allows you to make music with your mind. You might have a song in your head, and you can type that out, and Gen will help you bring that song to life too. And since we're at the Wave of Innovation, I asked Gen to make the Wave of Innovation as a song by typing Wave of Innovation. So who knows what AIs think about things, but I think it came out pretty good. This is my first prompt. I haven't played with it at all. Let's see if it gives the vibe of this conference. Gen produces really high quality stereo music. It's something we've partnered with the team at Alibaba on in terms of getting training infrastructure for. It's our team's own science. You can check out on our Futureverse research paper if you're into the academic side of things. We've released 2 papers on Gen. The really cool thing is that Gen competes with the Googles and Metas and the other big tech AI companies around the world in terms of quality. In fact, better quality music and prompt coherence. So that's responding to the prompts you put in there. And it's been trained on 20 times less data that we lawfully acquired from copyright owners, and with 30 times less compute power. So it's really good science, and we're looking forward to launching this shortly. So you can all have a play too. Another really cool part of the tech stack is the Murmur Matrix. Murmur Matrix is all about bringing the data that you have, that you carry in your wallet, that you own in terms of content to life through AI in a decentralized way. Probably lots of people out there talking about decentralized AI. Most of them are focused on decentralized inference infrastructure. So what that is cloud computing run in the same way that blockchains are run to process requests of AI and turn it into things. So when I type a prompt and the model that's sitting behind that generates something, that's called inference. Actually, most of that's going to happen on your own device. It'll happen on your laptop. It'll happen on your phone. It doesn't need to be decentralized because it will be naturally, because it'll be on your own hardware. What's really, really important is to decentralize the data layer in a way that makes sense for AIs to understand it. And that's what the Murmur Matrix is all about. And then last but very much not least, the root network. So root network is our blockchain. It's a layer 2 to XRPL. And the root network's job is to enhance the utility of XRP and to serve as the foundation for connecting all of these content-driven, data-driven experiences that we're building. And so we've built a whole bunch of runtimes modules into the root network that enable developers to simplify the onboarding process for users. We onboarded almost 1 million players to the FIFA AI League and minted over 4 million NFTs on the XLS20 standard through using this onboarding technology. Most of them would not have known they touched a blockchain, which is the great thing. That's the magic we're trying to create. The root network itself, in terms of actual integration, so we support the XLS20 standard natively on the network. We use XRP as gas for the network. So every transaction that goes through the network uses XRP. We have a bridge to XRPL, and we run an XRPL full node. And there are a whole bunch of people in this community building other features as well. You'll hear from some of them today about how they're leveraging XRP on the root network, how they're building more integrations between XRPL and root network itself. And if you're a developer, you can go and start to build these applications, even if you don't know how to write smart contracts, because we've abstracted a lot of those things with the runtime. If you do want to write your own smart contracts, we support the EVM. And so you can write native Solidity contracts, deploy them on the root network. And we've done that in a way that integrates very tightly with those network runtimes. So it doesn't feel any different to a user. if they've built a smart contract on EVM or they're using the native services. And then we've started to seed the ecosystem with a bunch of cool content and applications and experiences. I'll highlight a couple of these today, but some very powerful partnerships with some of the world's largest content brands, consumer brands, apparel brands, sports brands, trying to bring them and their users into this ecosystem through these magical content experiences. One we're about to launch very shortly is with Reebok. So Reebok Impact starts as an Instagram experience. Go where people are, and uses our AI to take their memories from Instagram and turn them into unique digital shoes that they can take into applications and experiences. And I think really importantly for this audience, in that process, get the ability to get discounts on physical goods in the retail stores that Reebok operates. So you can see how digital collectible experiences can translate into payments and transactions in commerce experiences. The next really exciting thing we're just in the middle of launching is the Third Kingdom. Third Kingdom's a strategy simulation game where you can go and use your collectibles inside of the Futureverse ecosystem to farm and mine really cool, valuable resources like the root token. So check that out if you haven't had a look at it yet. And then the last thing is Readyverse Studios. And this is a partnership that we made with the creators of Ready Player One. You might have seen the movie. Ernie Klein wrote the book. Dan Farrar produced the movie. And we've created a joint venture called Readyverse Studios to bring the story of Ready Player One to life in an open metaverse experience, and enable application developers to deploy their own applications and experiences and games into a marketplace that can be discovered by the hundreds of millions of fans of Ready Player One. And here's a little sneak peek. So if you're a gamer, go sign up for the waitlist. It's a competitive, multi-biome, multi-strategy, multi-mode battle royale format. The first AAA game being built with AAA Hollywood IP in Web3. It's going to be really cool. And to finish, just to recap, AI powers the immersive internet, which is just the next generation of the internet. Web3 powers the digital ownership of it, and the metaverse is where it all lives. So if you thought the metaverse didn't matter, think again. Cheers.